We're here today in this beautiful churchyard at Clifford's Mesne. The church behind me was built in the late 19th century, and the burial ground around it, which comprises about 1 acre, is currently being managed for ecological and wildlife benefit and for the benefit of people. With the support of the environment team from the diocese, the PCC here are working towards their Silver Eco Church Award, and we're here today just to find out a little bit more about it.
We knew we got lots of wildflowers here, so we changed the mowing regime, and it's really surprising what's come up. What Simon has done and found all these flowers is amazing.
Simon, could you tell me a little bit more about your role in this project and your background as an ecologist?
I am a professional ecologist, work as a nature conservation advisor for the National Trust, but what I do here is not connected to the National Trust at all. It's entirely sort of voluntary, and just as a sort of, I guess, interested member of the local community and somebody who appreciates having this fantastic resource, almost literally on their doorstep. I don't think I can take too much credit, because it's probably, it's the PCC who deserve a huge amount of credit, I think.
There's the people that like it mown and tidy, and then there's the ones that love it looking wild and are passionate about the wildflowers, and really they're quite a long way apart, so it's keeping the peace.
Grasslands are really, these days they're a rare habitat, sadly. Let's say they have a fantastic diversity of wildflowers. They're actually also really important for carbon sequestration. There's lots of carbon stored in these old underserved grasslands, which sadly across the wider landscape are really rare. Well over 97% at least is usually the figure that's quoted of certainly old meadows have been lost over sort of the last sort of 60 or 70 years. And so I think collectively, churchyards, burial grounds do add up to a really valuable resource for biodiversity and, as I say, for carbon storage. There's a fantastic diversity here. There's recorded over 100 species. We're on very naturally very free draining and probably infertile soil, so that sort of helps the diversity. It means that some of those more competitive species haven't got such an advantage. But yeah, it's really important that we do sort of think about it and carry on managing it, really. It's interesting. Quite a lot of the plants are actually ones that will tolerate fairly regular mowing. So what we haven't got too much of is the kind of the coarse grasses that can dominate, and so that's probably why it's actually quite important to carry on some sort of mowing regime, because otherwise we might lose some of the diversity.
It's beautiful now. It's so colourful, and I think it's bringing people to the churchyard just to come and look. You see people stopping and having a look, and it's getting well known through God's Acre that we have this churchyard here.
Two different types of heather. Got the ling, the common heather, and bell heather, which so two growing together there. And then honeysuckle that's inveigled its way in. Yeah. And even the young oak tree. Has been a team effort, and I think we've all been kind of hopefully learning together, really.
You're seeing the benefits for wildlife, small animals.
Things like the slow worms. Yeah, and lots of bees. That's one thing we really noticed, sort of an increase in diversity of insects in here. We love this one uncut. I usually cut this myself at the end of the season, probably in October, with a scythe. So it's which is always interesting because it's pretty steep, but but a sharpened scythe does a decent job. But there's a fantastic range of things here. See the harebell flowering at present, which is sort of a lovely late summer flower. We've got the heathers again, ling and bell heather. We've got the goldenrod, this tall thing, this goldenrod flowering there. You can see the seed heads of the quaking grass. It's lovely grass, very delicate grass, sort of fine leaf grass, and that's one of these species that will quickly get crowded out actually by more sort of coarse grasses. We've had some sedges. This is glaucous sedge that's finished flowering, and just coming into flower is this plant, Devil's Bit scabious. I don't know why it got its name, but anyway, Devil's Bit scabious, and that's again a late summer flowering thing that it can be quite spectacular across the bank here. This is a year's growth. Imagine most lawns, after a whole, full summer, spring and summer's growth, they would be, up here. But just shows how sort of probably naturally kind of infertile it is, and which helps with the diversity massively.
We're lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's again the important thing about raking up, when we do mow, raking up all the grass.
I think it's really exquisite, actually. This is autumn ladies' tresses, Latin name Spiranthes spiralis, because it has this lovely sort of whirl, this spiral of flowers around the stem. And if you were to look really closely, you see that these are classic sort of orchid flowers, really attractive with that lip that you get with most orchid flowers. It really needs quite short turf in which to flower, because it's easily swamped out by other species.
Now that you're managing the churchyard in this way, you're also tailoring your services or your worship around almost the seasonal calendar.
We do love our festivals, so we do try and have one every month.
With lockdown, did that help you to look at the space in a different way?
Yeah, well, for lockdown we didn't want to, we obviously couldn't have services from the church, so we had them outside, and we've had about 6 or 7 services outside, festivals, and that's been a real success, and it's generally made us really think again about how to do our services, and that being outside it really works.
By tying the churchyard back to nature and back to the seasons, you're also tying it back to the rural community that's around it.
And we've had more people. People have bought picnics and refreshments. Now we have services. We have an environment Sunday service, and we tell the children to bring magnifying glasses and binoculars, and Simon has taken them round and pointed out, tells nice stories about different special ones. Yeah, it does work well, when the odd toad jumps out, and it's a delight for children.
So the success of the project here that you've got, it seems to really depend upon the relationships with the wider community.
We have very little income to this church. We really struggle to keep going. So the Friends seemed a really good way forward. It pays for all this mowing, which is brilliant. And we're trying to encourage more and more people in the village to become Friends. I think we've only got about 10 at the moment, but I would recommend that every church has Friends, because it gets people involved in the church, and they really care about it.
We're so lucky with Dave, the contractor who does the mowing, because he does recognise wildflowers when he sees them, and things we have 5 species of orchids here, so he's pretty good at negotiating his way around them. And most things which are flowering, it's impossible to. It's so rich, really. It's impossible to miss everything. But let's say most of the things are quite well adapted to being regularly mown, so they will flower again pretty quickly.
We have to have paths, but I do like the fact that they are quite windy, because they have to miss an orchid or some other species of flower.
That windy path adds variety and interest to people's route. It's always a little bit different,
and the kids love it.
I do think that the church is really important in local community life. So I feel like I'm giving something back, even in I suppose helping to advise on the management of the churchyard.
And the Friends group is really just a way to build those relationships and to get that support that you need.
Yeah, absolutely.